Hello, official now for all together. As I said, this session, this live masterclass will be in English. It's not familiar for me to do stuff like that, but with Carol and the weeks in Italy, we had or I had quite a good lesson. And so Carol is understanding what I want from her. And yeah, now I told her name already twice. I want to say hello, Carol, officially. Nice to meet you here in this room.
Hello. Thank you for having me here with you and your tribe, Jennifer. Very excited to share.
Yeah, and me as well, because our experience till here, no, yeah, the last days and 2 weeks where we all recorded the sessions, it was really great, and I'm so happy that we decided to spread it, to open it, to share it.
Yes.
That's so great.
Me too. Me too. I'm so thrilled to be able to share everything that we're doing together with your audience. So, hello, everybody. Welcome. So nice to kind of meet you in this kind of silent way and see some smiling faces pop in and out. So, thank you so much for being here with us. I hope that you are, understanding everything that I'm saying and I will do my best to speak slowly, a little more slowly, and a little more clearly. I understand because I'm also learning how to speak Italian. And I realize that when the Italians speak very fast, it's much harder for me to understand them and to like make the translations fast enough in my head. So maybe just let me know if I need to adjust anything, Jennifer, as we're going. I'd be happy to.
We will bring it to everybody who is able to use his or her ears and heart. Like the little prince said, we hear with the heart the best way. Or what's the quote in English? Do you know it?
I don't remember specifically, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. Yeah.
So that is the way it will work. So I just in from my heart, I also invited everybody, even if the language is not familiar with you, to join us because the energy and the vibes, when there is a room and now we are live together, spread it over the world. The internet is making it possible. So we have a great room here. And even wenn du nicht verstehen würdest, if you didn't understand, it would have its benefit in your whole system. So that's that's my way of seeing the world and belief and whatever. Yeah, and Carol is going to introduce us today in this live masterclass in the rooms of our body, which resonates with our voice. So you will get a great overview, I guess, to understand with what she is working and what is it about to work through your body at the end to get reconnected more deeper and to step into your pure authenticity. It's even hard to say in German. It's the same in English.
Your authentic voice. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And later on, I will have a little, I don't know the word in English, it's Umfrage in German, where you have some questions. They are all in German. And I would like to have your answers for these questions. And then you can, yeah, write down your questions if you have some in the chat, and we can go on later at the end when Carol finished her part. So, and if we forgot something, you can tell us as well.
Great. Great. Great.
Yes,
Remind me how much time we have altogether.
I'm open.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. So, are we ready to dive in?
Yes, we
Yeah.
are.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Again, again, welcome everybody. So, I've been a coach and a healer for over 30 years now, actually. I've also been a performing vocalist for many of those years as well. Actually, all my life, but officially in bands and choirs and things like that since I was a teenager in high school. And so I've also been working as a soul healer, soul alchemist, helping people to really connect to their true selves. And a big part of that work has been in helping people to really own the power and the confidence of their voices, because this is really where we express the truth of who we are, our soul selves from, is really the main vehicle for the expression of us, of the real us. So today, what I want to do is there's many aspects to the voice, right? In terms of confidence and authenticity and artistry with the voice, we want to address the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspects of our beingness. And for the voice itself, the physical instrument of the voice, we want to address, what is this instrument? We can't see it. We don't, we can't see it like a piano or a guitar. We can only imagine what's going on inside here, and many of us feel that, well, we can talk, so the thing works. But there is technique to learning how to play this instrument, and that begins with getting to know the parts of the instrument, just like as in understanding what the keys of the keyboard do, and what the strings of a guitar do, and what the notes on the horn do, and so forth. And so, because this is such a unique instrument, because it's inside of us and it's a part of who we are as a person, we want to really understand and get to know those parts. Jennifer, is there a way that I can, I tried to put speaker on so I can see myself in the large window? It's just easier for me because it doesn't kind
You
of
have the
throw me off.
same control level like me, an admin
Yeah.
control level. What do you mean? I didn't understand.
Oh, that's okay. It's just the speaker view is showing only yours. I think you have to if you go to highlight, if you highlight me, that might put me in the speaker view.
No, I have highlighted you in on my advice. Can you click on the right side on the top of your window? There must be the view.
Yeah, it's on speaker view, but it's not
Yeah, and you go on more speaker. Or you
multi-speaker.
fix yourself with the points on the right upper side on your screen. There are three dots, points. There you can fix pin video. Is that the same in English?
Okay, that's right. Never mind. Don't worry about it. It's fine. I don't want to take time doing
Okay.
anything. Pin video. Okay, I got it. Okay,
Great.
that's better. That's a little more helpful. Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, sorry for that interruption. So there are these aspects of the mental and emotional and spiritual side of the voice, and then the physical side of the voice. And today, what we're going to address is the physical instrument in terms of working with the other aspects of our voices. Well, that will come down the road if you choose to join us in our journey together in this course of this voice alchemy course. So we begin with the muscles and the parts of this voice instrument that create the sound that is the voice. So our voices are just air that's controlled by muscles. So when we have control over the muscles and they're conditioned, in other words, they're not too weak, but they're strong, or they're not holding too much tension, but they are able to relax. Then we can have more control over those muscles, and when we have more control over the muscles, we have control over the air that becomes eventually the voice. So the voice is a very, the English word is ineffable, or the meaning it's intangible. It's, we have to train our inner sensibilities to get to know this instrument. We have to specifically train our ears, our hearing, right? We're not just training the voice instrument, but we're training our ears, which is the other side, really, of the voice. It's the phonating, the vocalizing, and the hearing. We can't really have one without the other in an effective way. So training the ears, training our inner sensations, like really becoming intimately aware of what is happening with the air. Like, what is air? Like, we can't hold it in our hands, and we can't like do things with it. We just kind of know that it's there. But there's movement of air, right? That's when we know, like when we feel the wind against the skin, then we know there's air. We know when it's cold or hot, we know there's air, there's temperature, right? Within our bodies, the air moves, and then we know where it's going and what it's doing, where it's being placed. There's something called air placement. That's an important part of the voice and the voice instrument. And so getting to know, where is the air? What is the air doing in here? And also the vibrations of the sound that we're creating. Where do we feel and sense those vibrations in the body? And what I love about this aspect of the voice is that it's unique to every single one of us. So I'm not going to tell you, oh, you should feel this vibration or that vibration. What I'm going to tell you is notice what you're feeling. What are you feeling? What are you noticing when you sing a low note, when you sing a high note, when you sing with vibrato, or when you do different, gymnastics with your voices? Where are you feeling those sensations? And also our breathing, of course, because as I said, the voice is just air that's controlled by muscles. So without our breath, we have no voice. So the breathing is a very, very important part of learning about your voice. the action of the breath, right? We talked about air, but what are we doing? How are we breathing? Okay. So speaking of breathing, we'll begin with the diaphragm muscle. So let me push this back a
And I
little.
want to add something. You
Yes.
missed the most important point in my point of view, the fun.
Oh yeah, well, yes. That was your job.
Yeah. Our
That was your job to mention that one. So good job.
And it's
Yes,
so
absolutely.
funny. Yeah, really. So it's really a mess, a fun mess. Yeah, somehow.
Yes. Yes, a fun mess. Yes, absolutely. The fun, yeah. Well, as I've said to Jennifer, like my motto with singing and with using the voice is if it's not fun, we're not doing it. There's no point in doing it if it's not fun, because the voice, using our voices in joyful sounds is about how making us feel something, not just making us feel something, but making our audience feel something, right? That's why we love music, and it's why we love speaking and sharing ourselves, because it's all about the emotion. It's all about how it makes us feel. And when we use our voices in ways that are detrimental, well, that's very powerful too. So we want to be really mindful about how we're using our voices, that we're using them with as much joy as possible, so that we can make it fun for ourselves and for everyone else, and lift people up with the sound of our voices, no matter what we're doing with it. So, okay, so we'll start with the diaphragm. So if you know where the diaphragm is, go ahead and put your hand on the diaphragm. And if you don't know where your diaphragm muscle is, it's here. Just it stretches across just below the rib cage. It is the breathing muscle. It's the power generator, the power pump for the air that becomes our voice. And so when we inhale, this diaphragm muscle contracts and it comes down like this. It bows down. It kind of pulls like a vacuum the air into our lungs, and it makes room for the lungs to hold the air. So it contracts and it comes down, and then it relaxes and it pushes the air out of the lungs and up through this channel, and hopefully out through the mouth when we're speaking or singing. So the diaphragm is always doing this action here. And so again, it's pumping the air that becomes the voice. The thing about the diaphragm, speaking of emotions, is that it's very connected to our emotions. Sorry, it's very connected to our stronger emotions, like happy, sad, mad, right? When we have strong emotions like this, we're generally breathing more, right? Happy, yay, right? Exaggerating, right? But this is what's happening inside the body. Sad, grieving, right? More air is moving, or mad, like, you know. So when, excuse me, when we have strong emotions, excuse me, the diaphragm is working harder. It's making more effort. It's pumping more air. When the diaphragm's working harder, we have more stability behind the voice. We have more power and more projection behind the voice, right? So some people, I've heard many clients say to me, you know, people can't hear me. They're always asking me to repeat myself, right? And I'm gonna guess there's some of you on this call that might have this same problem, right? And so this is one indication of maybe a weak diaphragm. So we want to strengthen the diaphragm and make it stronger so that it's really pumping and supporting the air that comes up through this channel here. Now, on the other hand, if we're feeling fear, anxiety, scare, performance anxiety, stage fright, any kind of, you know, anxiousness, anything like that, what happens to the air? What happens to our breath, Jennifer? Since you're the one with the microphone, what happens to the breathing?
Yeah, it's getting tight, I would say, isn't it?
It does, yes. It's the opposite effect, right? Of strong emotions, we have more air pumping, but when we're scared or nervous or afraid, we might hold our breath, or we might, right? Real shallow breathing, just like up here. So this is telling the diaphragm, well, you don't really have to work that hard, right? So it's very little air that's pumping or moving. So if you ever feel nervous or afraid or scared when you're speaking or singing, it compounds the problem, because now you don't have that power behind the voice. You don't have the air that is the voice. And so this is something that connects back into what we were talking about, the emotional body and so forth, and really handling whatever beliefs or ideas we have around being heard and seen, and really vocalizing our thoughts, feelings, opinions, and perspectives and so forth. So, working in that regard as far as turning those false beliefs into powerful truths so that we can stand in the power of our voice and not be affected by fears or anxiety when we're speaking. Okay, so the diaphragm. The diaphragm's pumping the air, and whoosh, up it comes through this channel. And the next muscle that we're going to talk about is kind of the obvious one, the vocal cords, or anatomically known correctly as the vocal folds. The vocal folds are, is that funny, Jennifer?
Yeah, it sounds like it's bad done job. Vocal folds. Like a fool, you know?
Oh, Gaia. Okay, yeah. No, fold.
Yeah, yeah.
Fold. Not vocal fool. so, so the vocal
It's the same
fold.
with the lip dribble, you know, or the
Yeah,
ribbon.
the lip dribble. Yeah. So the vocal folds, or the vocal cords, I'll say, which most people call them vocal cords. Okay, so they're two little muscles inside here, right, that are housed by the larynx, which is the voice box. The larynx is another important part of the voice. We're going to talk about that in a second. But the vocal folds, two little muscles in here, tiny. And so what happens is when the air comes up from the diaphragm, it hits these vocal cords, and it causes them to vibrate. And when they vibrate, they start hitting together like this. Actually, the action is like this. That's what the vocal folds do, like this. And so they hit together, and any two things that hit together, we get sound, right? The sound frequency of the voice is created. And so by this hitting together, we get the voice. And when it happens in here, it's like this little buzzing sound, right? And so if you put your two finger pads on the center of your throat there, where you can feel, if you're a man, you can feel that Adam's apple, that little bone that sticks out. Women can feel it too. You just have to fish around a little bit more. So now, if you make a low tone in your range, like a deeper tone, a low pitch, everybody do that. And just notice the feeling of the sound. What do you notice, Jennifer? My audience member with the microphone.
Vibration.
Vibration, yeah. Yeah. There's a vibration there, right? You can feel that. Now, same thing. Go to the highest point in your range that you can reach comfortably, right? Make a high-pitched sound. What happened to the vibration?
It's getting quicker and longer.
Okay.
Longer
Yeah.
in the range, I mean.
Yeah. So quicker is actually the correct answer. Some people might say, oh, I can't feel the vibration anymore. You can't feel the vibration anymore because of the speed of the vocal cords hitting together, the vibration there. When we make high pitches, the vocal folds are vibrating very fast. When we make low pitches, the vocal folds are vibrating very slowly. So if you imagined, if you can imagine like a guitar, and the bass string, the low string, if you pluck it, wah, 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 right? You can imagine, like, you can see the movement of that string, and then you pluck the tenor string, the top one, ping, right? Ting, and it doesn't, you could barely see that move, right? It's the same thing that's happening in here. So low tones, slower movement by the vocal folds, which is like, we can say they're making less effort. It's like walking, versus those high-pitched sounds with the fast vibration. We could say more effort for the vocal folds to sustain that vibration, because it's more like running, right? Walking versus running. You need more sustainability, more strength of the vocal folds. So this is why a lot of people, a lot of singers will say, well, I have a hard time reaching those high pitches. We strengthen the vocal folds so that they can sustain that vibration. You'll be able to reach higher pitches. And also, likewise, some women and men especially want to reach those lower pitches. So it's more about really relaxing tension with the vocal folds and really being able to let go and let them just move slowly. So that's the vocal cords or vocal folds. So then here comes the air, whoosh, hits the vocal folds, sound frequencies created, and then we come up and we hit the soft palate, So the soft palate is, oh darn, I don't have my diagram.
Der
But
Gaumen oben ist das Soft Palate. Aber
so,
hinten der weiche Teil, sorry. Mhm.
no, go ahead.
Der weiche Teil, also wenn du die Kante lang fährst, hinter den Zähnen den Gaumen lang, dann kommt da hinten irgendwo vorm Zäpfchen die weiche Stelle, das ist das Soft Palate.
What she said.
I didn't want to show the action, but I described, you know what
Yeah,
happened
what
last
she
time.
said. So in the front, so the soft palate, or the palate is the top of the mouth. And in the front, we have the hard palate, the bony structure. That's the hard palate, which is also part of the voice instrument. But we're going to talk more about muscles right now because we have more control over muscles. And so if you take the tip of your tongue and you put it at the top of at the hard palate and drag it back past the bone, then you'll feel where it starts to get soft. That's the beginning of the soft palate. Okay? The soft palate, if my finger was inside there, right? The soft palate actually stretches around the back here, okay? So it's a big muscle that we need to create volume. It's the amplifier for our voices. So that little buzzy sound that happens on the vocal folds, when it comes up and into this space here, it hits the soft palate, and the soft palate, poo, wah, 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 out comes it amplifies the sound so that we get volume and people can hear the voice. Make sense so far? We good? Okay, good. So, good. So the soft palate is very important. Otherwise, people wouldn't be able to hear us. So again, if you're one of those people that has problems being actually perceived, the sound of your voice being perceived by others, it could also indicate a weak soft palate. So we want to strengthen the soft palate, especially because we want it to be lifted. We want it to be strong, lifted, and taut or tight, like a drum. You know the skin of a drum? Drummers are always tightening the frame to stretch that drum head out so it's nice and tight. So when they go to hit it with a stick or a hand, that sound, poof, it pops out and it resonates. It's the same thing with the soft palate. We want the soft palate to be like a drum, lifted and tight, so we get that resonance of sound. We want this space in here to be open. If you think about the amplifier of your stereo system, if anybody still owns one of those, or a speaker, right? You've got the box, and inside you have the cone, and that's where the sound is amplified. It's the amplifier, right? It's a cone shape. So that's what this is. This is the amplifier. So this is called the mouth resonance. We're going to talk about resonances later, but this is the mouth resonance. We need this to be open. So when we lift the soft palate, that helps to open this mouth resonance. When the air comes up, the air molecules now carrying the sound frequencies, that air needs space to move around and bounce around in here. It's the difference between walking into an empty gymnasium or cathedral and you go, hey, right? And whoosh, the sound, the air molecules bounce off the walls and you get this big resonant sound. As opposed to, imagine walking into an elevator, right? There's very little space in there for the air molecules to do their thing and bounce around and have a little party, right? so if you did the same thing in an elevator, hey, everything, the sound just goes nowhere. It falls flat. So this mouth resonance, we want it nice and open. When the soft palate drops down, when it's weak, if it drops down, of course, let's imagine this is the space of the mouth resonance. This is the soft palate and this is the tongue and the jaw. Up comes the air and it wants to come out through here and play around. The air molecules are going to play around in here first. They're going to bounce off the soft palate and bounce around in this space. If the soft palate comes down, first of all, it deadens the sound, the amplification, and it squeezes this space here, right? And so it makes it smaller. Now, your tongue, a lot of people have tongue tension, unconscious tongue tension. And you don't even really notice it until you start paying attention to your tongue. But the tongue often has tension, and when it's tense, what happens to muscles when they're tense? They get like this, they get tight, right? And so instead of relaxing down, it pushes up. And now tight tongue, loose, soft palate. Now we've got an elevator instead of a gymnasium, right? So if this is squeezed, the air is going to have a hard time getting out of the mouth. It might come out through the nose if this pushes up and pushes the air out through through the nasal resonance. The nasal resonance is like these little tiny, it's very small. It's like an elevator space, right? And so when it gets pushed out of here, you get that nasally sound too, right?
So let me ask a question.
Yeah.
That means because ich habe das schon oft beobachtet. I have often seen people talking like they are, like they have a cold or something, but they are not ill. They just talk the way like nasal. So
Yeah.
does that maybe, or is it a possibility that they have traumata, etc., that there is so much tension in the tongue and they have no standing inner wise, so that the weakness of the soft palate is so over?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. A weak, soft palate, tension in the tongue, it's all connected. It's often connected to, trauma around our voice and expression, which is a conversation, right? Which is
So
why a lot
there
of
we are
people have that
talking.
tension.
Sorry, yeah, there we are talking about in the course as well, because
Yeah.
I am the resonance factor and I talk about my stuff.
Mhm.
And sometimes I put my finger in my mouth to feel the soft palate, and I'm happy that I haven't had breakfast at that moment. So it's altogether very much fun to join us if you like to go deeper.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a conversation, this tension that we carry in the body, because when we have any kind of trauma around our expression, which most people, almost every human has some kind of trauma around the voice, right? Because none of us were, I won't say none, maybe there's a lucky, very small percentage that were raised by, highly conscious and aware and enlightened parents, coaches, teachers, mentors, I don't know. But it's pretty much the human condition to have trauma around the voice and the expression. And so, when we have trauma, it manifests as tension in the body, tension in the muscles. And so, tension around the voice means tension around the voice muscles.
And that we are working on it together is such a great gift because you are getting, I am getting in contact with those rooms, open themselves up with all the aspects of my inner world and my inner zombie scenario. So it's a great healing happening just sideways most of the time. It's so great. I
Yeah.
wanted just to say it, Carol. Sorry.
Yes, we have to address trauma not just mentally and emotionally, but through the body, because the body is what holds and carries that trauma, right? So that's somatic work. Yeah, it's very important. We are a holistic being. We have to work through all of the levels of our beingness. Yes. So working on strengthening the soft palate, on relaxing the tongue, all very important. The tongue is a muscle, or the tongue is a, yeah, the it's just muscles and liquid. That's what the tongue is. It's a several groups of muscles that are striated or like in different directions, which is why we can do fun things with the tongue, like roll and twist and wag, and we can move different sections of the tongue. And really, the tongue is probably, they're all critical parts, but there's a reason that we call languages tongues, right? Because without a tongue, we do not have words. We might have a voice, but we don't have words, right? And so the tongue shapes the vowel sounds, and the tongue creates the color and the quality of the sounds of the voice, because what we're doing with our tongue will push those air molecules around inside of this mouth resonance and the throat resonance as well. And so what's happening with those air molecules carrying the sound frequencies is what creates this quality of sound of the voice. So the tongue has everything to do with that. So soft palate, tongue. I want to talk about, the lips, the cheeks, and the nose muscles. So the lips are very important because they're kind of the gateway for this amplification cone, right? We can't have tension in the lips that cause resistance to actually opening the mouth resonance here and opening our sound. So we want the lips to be relaxed. Just watch people when they talk. And it might be you, right? do you speak, or do you notice people speaking with a very closed mouth like this, and it just traps the sound inside of the mouth? So there's stuff going on there as well with the lip tension, and the cheeks and the nose are connected to the soft palate. When we lift these cheek muscles and we scrunch these nose muscles up, it has the effect of lifting the soft palate, which is what we want to do, right? So these are also parts of this voice instrument that we want to give some attention to, because there are other ways to move the soft palate, but by lifting and scrunching these muscles here, that's one kind of simple way that we can get that soft palate lifted. It might sound simple, but for some people, simply having control over these muscles is an effort. So there's that work to be done. And then really important muscle is the jaw. So again, about tension in the body. The jaw muscle, first of all, it's the strongest, relatively speaking. It's not the biggest, but relatively speaking, it's the strongest muscle in the body. So it's, it attaches here and it opens up here and connects to the chin. But it's a very strong muscle and a very important muscle for the voice, because we have to get this open. Yeah, we have to get this open so that we can have this space here and that the sound can actually come out of the mouth, right? And be heard by others. So a lot of people...
Carol, let's do a micro training during your talking further on with massaging the head.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
relaxing the jaw right now. Let's do it
Yeah,
all
we can do
together.
that. Totally. Yeah. So because of the fascia, the connective tissue in the body that connects all the parts of the body, it can often get dehydrated if we're not liquefied, right? When we're carrying tension and trauma, the connective tissue gets tight, and it prevents us from really opening here, as well as the tension in the jaw. So really massaging, stimulating all of the muscles around the face, the temples, around the ears, behind the ears, down in the neck, under the tongue. This whole area here is all connected to all of these muscles and parts that I'm talking about, but certainly the jaw. So we like to just kind of create some circulation, bring some blood and movement to the fascia and the muscles that are connected to the jaw. And there's actually this muscle in here, which is kind of a little secret, that connects up here to the jaw. So if you massage in that kind of fleshy part right there, you'll probably notice there's like, oh, there's something going on in there, right? Yeah. Yeah. So those there. So all of this area, and then I like to really kind of get the tips of my fingers, one or two fingers, just really kind of digging in and finding those sensitive spots. Because there's definitely places in there, if you really search, you're gonna all of a sudden go like, oh, yeah. That's where a lot of the tension is held, especially in this like hinge area of the jaw where the upper and lower jaw are connected. That joint there, the temporomandibular joint, the TMJ, right? Joint. Up in here, boy, there's a lot of tension and a lot of trauma stored in there. A lot of people have what's called TMJ disease, right, or dysfunction, where it kind of, the jaw clicks, is like out of place. It's has everything to do with the tension being held there. So yeah, so we want the jaw to be nice and loose and relaxed and drop down so that we can get this open. And so I can totally give you, because by far this is definitely the most universal problem area for people when we're working with the voice, is this tension in the jaw. Because it's, as I was starting to say, because it's the strongest muscle in the body, it really can hold that tension. When we've experienced criticism, shame, blame, silencing, censoring, guilt, all the things that happen to humans around the voice, which causes us to go like, oh no, it's not safe to speak, to sing, to whatever, right? We've all experienced these things at one time or another, and so the jaw holds on to that and goes, right? And it comes up and it tenses, and this is another problem why people don't really open their mouths and get the sound out. So just letting go, this is actually one of the lessons, and we're going to give this to you today, is just because it's so simple and it's so important to just, we call it dopey face. Just unhinge this little muscle here, just unhinge here, right? And just drop down. So you're not using any force or tension of the muscle to push the jaw open. That's creating tension, and that's not what we're doing. We're giving this jaw muscle a new memory of relaxation. We want it to relax. We want it to just hang.
And you know what, Carol? It works immediately through my body with a yawn is the word, no?
The what?
Releasing something with yawn or
Uh-huh.
yawn. Yawn
Oh,
was a
yawn, 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 yeah.
cannon.
Yeah, when you yawn, yeah. This is the big stretch. So there's definitely other practices that I teach for helping to release tension in the jaw. But you know, you brought up this massage. That's great. It's easy to do, and then just let it hang. We want to give the jaw muscle a new memory of relaxation. Okay, so. So these are all, the one I kind of skipped over a little bit, but I mentioned before, is the larynx. It's a bone, but it's cartilage, and it's membrane, and it's muscle, and it's ligament. But the larynx is that bone that sticks out here for men and for women. But because men have longer vocal cords, it pushes that bone out a little more. So the larynx, if you just put your fingers there and just, first of all, just swallow. You can feel the movement of the larynx, yeah? Okay, that's the bone I'm talking about there. It's again, the voice box or the vocal tract. The vocal folds or cords are inside there. It houses the vocal cords. But when we now do the same thing again, where you make a low tone, la, notice what happens to the larynx. La. What does it do?
It's going down.
It goes down,
Yeah.
and then make a high pitch. La. What is it doing?
Yeah, going up.
It's going up. Yes, exactly. Yep. So we can actually move the larynx without making sound. Give it a try.
But I use my tongue for it.
Yeah, it's
Something behind.
all connected. All the parts are connected. Yeah, yeah. So the larynx, along with the tongue, like you just mentioned, right? The larynx and the tongue kind of work together. There's a lot of parts that work together, but they create what we call the color of the sound of the voice, or the brightness or the darkness of sound, right? So when I drop my larynx down and really open the throat and drop my tongue down, the back of the tongue, right? Even if I do a high pitch, it's a darker, more open sound. Can you hear it? Is it coming through? Okay. But when you lift the larynx up, you get, or let's see if we can do a low tone with the larynx up. Or no. Let me do it this way. It's easier this way, right? When you lift, kind of slowly lift it, you go open. Right? I didn't change the pitch, but you could hear the change in the tone, right? From dark to bright. So that's the larynx, and the back of the tongue has a part in that as well. The back of the tongue is a very important part. And then one other kind of more advanced thing, but it's important because most people, when they're singing, their biggest problem is changing between registers. In other words, moving from a low pitch to a high pitch, or vice versa. And if you've been singing, you've noticed probably, if your voice isn't trained, that when you move between these ranges, the low range and the high range, there's a point at which the voice cracks or breaks. We call it the vocal break, right? That is about the coordination of two little muscles that are attached to the vocal cords, called the cricothyroid and the thyroarytenoid. One is in charge of our low tones, the other is in charge of our high tones. And I'm not going to get into the deep anatomy about it now, but that's something we can talk about when we're working together. But what I want to say is that most of us aren't born. Some lucky ones are, and they don't experience that crack or that break. But most of us do, and that's because these two muscles are not coordinating, they're not collaborating, they're not working together. And so we have to train those two little muscles to do what they need to do so that we can smooth out that break, that transition. And that right there is the thing that most singers are trying to master. And this is the difference between a professional and an amateur. When you hear your favorite pros singing, you can't tell the difference if they're singing in their power range, their chest voice. Oh, right, they're very like their speaking level tone, and it's powerful, and they can really get the sound, right? Or their high range, where most people are like, they're just like afraid to kind of go up there instead of like, right? Really getting that power and that volume out of it. Yeah. And so we can't, and we don't hear the difference when they go from one to the other. It's still just as powerful and voluminous and resonant, right? And so, and they don't get that crack. So working with those little muscles, and then just a couple of other quick things. I mentioned the resonances, the mouth resonance, the nasal resonance, but there's also a throat resonance. The resonances are the spaces in the vocal tract where the sound, the air molecules bounce around and do interesting things to create quality, okay? Quality of sound. Did you want to ask a question, Jennifer?
Yes, I wanted to mention something because when you did the sound from the lower, not the last two examples before, I got goosebumps, or chicken costume, as I like to say. And And then in my mind came up, yes, our voice is a powerful healing tool for even for ourselves, especially for ourselves, not even especially.
Yes.
And I wanted to mention that when we work on our voice, even if we don't want to become singers, yeah, but to get or become more aware about what's going on, we can also allow ourselves more to express when we know about our possibilities and with our muscles and stuff around the voice. Yeah. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. Absolutely. Getting to know the voice is getting to know the self. It is the expression of who we are, as I said in the beginning. It's like without the voice, how do we share ourselves, our ideas, our thoughts, our opinions, our feelings? Yes, we can use the body, we can use sign language, we can, write, draw, whatever. We can use other art forms. But the voice is a very unique and a very important instrument, and it has a signature tone. It has a signature quality to it. Your voice is like nobody else's voice, right? It creates an impression on people. When you use the way in which you use your voice. If you use your voice in this kind of meek, demure, kind of like back kind of feeling way, that creates an impression upon people. It gives them a perception. When you overuse your voice, same thing, right? But when you have a nice balance of, I know how to work with the volumes of my voice. I know how to work with the sing song quality of my voice. I can go to high pitches to really accentuate something because I'm so excited, right? Or I can get really serious and be like, I'm speaking firmly and I'm using an authoritarian tone, right? It's these are just a couple of examples of like, I can speak with a really loving and really caring voice, and I want you to understand what it means to embrace the power of your voice, right? So there's all of these qualities of the voice that give expression to who we are and what we really mean. And as you mentioned, Jennifer, it's not just a tool to express ourselves, but it's a tool to heal ourselves. And, there's, we can, music therapy, singing, toning, there's so much to know about tones and frequencies and what they do to the DNA, to the cells, to everything that's going on in the body in a physiological way. But the soothing and the healing, the balancing, the centering, the grounding that happens as a tool for meditation, or just literally physically healing ourselves just by intuitively using sound to bring that sound frequency to the parts of the body that are experiencing dysfunction or imbalance. Sound is the medicine of the future, and it's the future is here, the future is now. And this is a tool, this is our medicine that we have, we own it. We don't have to go to the pharmacy and pay somebody or have a prescription from a doctor to tell us what to do and how to use it, right? This belongs to us. This is our medicine, and nobody can take it away from us without some really extreme action, And so, yeah, so embracing the power of the voice for expressing ourselves musically, artistically, creatively, authentically, expressively, sharing our perspectives and opinions, but knowing how to use the voice to heal and balance ourselves and our body, mind, soul, all parts. Why not?
Why not?
Why not? We
Let's
have,
learn how to use it properly.
yeah. we have this thing. Let's do it, all right? Let's learn how to use it the way that we can.
Yeah.
It's our most powerful sound healing instrument and our most powerful mode of expression. So I don't know. I think I've exhausted my introduction to the parts of the voice for now. And this is really just scratching the surface. There's so much more having to do with the voice, not including what we didn't even really address, the mental, emotional, and spiritual aspect of the voice and the confidence and all of that, and really getting into looking at those parts of ourselves that are living inside here that may be traumatized or wounded and really have loud voices inside of us and often take over our choices, actions, and behaviors in ways that aren't so beneficial to us. So, really creating a relationship with those parts of ourselves and helping them to heal and unburden them from the extreme beliefs and thoughts and feelings that they've been carrying for so many years is a very big aspect of this work as well. And it's beautiful work. And I invite you all to join us on our journey in really stepping into the power of our authentic voice and creating that alchemy, turning, those base metals into the gold of our instrument.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So I just like to say, I hope that I will just in a minute give you the Abstimmung, Umfrage, Quiz, whatever. But I hope, even if you are not planning or are not able to, or whatever, if you're not joining our course, that you had much fun and took something for you personally in this evening tonight that you can carry with you and, yeah, step into yourself with your own experience way. Yeah. And that you can, yeah. And if it's only this thing with the jaw massage and relaxing your body, your skin, and I always like to invite you to enjoy your existence in the purest way and in the essentials way. So hopefully you have something you can carry with you now. And I open the Umfrage. The one is in German.
Chat.
I think you can see it. Can everybody see this? The questions? Carol, do you see them as well? Yeah.
I do. I see them. I don't understand them, but I see
Yeah,
them.
I will tell you in a minute if you like to. It's only five
Yeah.
questions.
Yeah.
What's about knowing us and what's about the interests of liking stuff like that and genau. So I would like to join you, and at the end there is a little information as well and a gift for you. Ein Geschenk am Ende gibt es natürlich. I will switch to German because it's much more easier for me right now. Carol, give me a moment. And the others, you can, if you have a question, that was what I wanted to say. During I speak, you can write your question in the chat. So if there is something left for you and you want to know right now, go ahead and ask us. Und ansonsten habe ich im Newsletter davon geschrieben, Workbook. Ich habe ein unglaubliches Workbook in Auftrag gegeben zu dieser ganzen Sache, weil es einfach so toll ist. Und es ist leider noch immer im Vorbestellmodus. Also falls du dich für diesen Einstieg mit dem Workbook entscheiden magst, es ist noch auf Vorbestellung. Es ist noch so heiß, dass es noch nicht mal gedruckt werden konnte. Und ansonsten haben wir die ersten Sessions jetzt in einem Paket zusammengefasst unter Level 1. Ist schon eine ganze Stange, was schon produziert ist and recorded ist. Und wir gehen jetzt weiter. Und du kannst, das habe ich heute in den Newsletter geschrieben, Level 1 und Level 2 als auch als Angebotspreis einsteigen, wenn du magst. Genau, und wer das heute macht, der bekommt das Workbook dann geschenkt, nochmal on top. Genau, und der Early Bird, dieser Frühbucherrabatt, die 50 € runter, die gibt es bis 21 Uhr. Möchtet ihr die Links hier nochmal haben oder wisst ihr, wo ihr sie findet? Stell sie euch einfach nochmal rein und dann, genau. Carol, you can say something if you like. I will just put in the links again and I'm back in a minute.
Okay. All right. What do I want to say?
You
Thank you
can,
for
if you
the.
like to, you could say something about what you experienced with me, my craziness or something like that.
What I experienced with Jennifer is what I'm sure all of you experienced, which is just pure joy and fun and laughter. And this is just we're meant to have fun with this, as we said in the beginning, right? When we start working with these parts of our voice instruments, sometimes we make some funny faces and sounds, and the voice does weird things that we're not comfortable with, but that's what we have to do. We have to just allow the voice to do those things so that we can find and get to really know the instrument. What does it do? What happens when I do this thing, or when I make this sound, or I move my muscles in this way or that way? What happens to my voice? Really using the ears, right? And I don't know. I mean, it's just, for me, it's just so joyful because it's music, it's healing, and these are my favorite things in life, music and healing. So I just invite you to join us on the journey again, and I really appreciate y'all being here and joining us in this conversation. I hope it was helpful for you. Even if you don't, I hope that you gained something, some knowledge, and we're always here at any point at which you might be ready to go on this vocal voice alchemy journey and have a little ride, a little fun with Jennifer and I.
Yeah. And it's really a pleasure and an interesting room always, because we are both, Carol and me, so intuitive and open. Yeah, and so connected. That's great. It's so interesting what's coming out.
Yeah, that's it's look, there is a science to the voice, of course, because we're talking about the body and scientific things, biological actions, but the intuition is really critical, and I always conduct my sessions in a very organic way, even though there is structure to it. We allow for the flow and what's coming up, because as even my teacher says, like, we really don't know anything about the voice because it's always, there's so much that we do know, but there's so much that we still don't know. And we're always learning. And even the things that we did know are almost always changing, right? So, I mean, excuse me, I can share some pretty basic things, like these are the parts of the instrument and these are what they do. But as I said before, what's happening inside of you might be very different than what's happening inside of someone else. And so we have to, there's something called false kinesthesia that happens with the voice. False kinesthesia is like the right kinesiology. It's the action of the muscles and what's happening vibrationally inside. And so, our voices are vibration and air and all these kind of intangible things. And even though sound may be produced with one physical part of the voice instrument, we may sense it in a different area of the body. And that is unique to everybody. And so there's not too many rights and wrongs. There's guidance for sure. There's guidance, and there's understanding the instrument and what the parts do, but how you use it and how the actions work for you are quite unique. So it's an exploration. It's an organic exploration of your voice on this journey, and that's makes it fun, right? That makes it fun. It's like, oh, what is this thing this tool that I've got? Yeah, getting
Yeah.
to know yourself. Self-awareness is the first step to transformation. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Thank you, Carol. There are in the chat, I haven't seen any questions and I forgot my words now. I just wanted to share one thing, but it's lost now. Yeah, it's really funny to work on the voice. The people who know me longer, they know that I already work with my voice. And and even if I'm not a professional voice user, singer, or something like that, I figured out that the impact for, especially for the resonance I got from people, yeah, with my voice, for example, holds something sacred. And my point of view is that everybody of us has this sacred space with their own voice, with your own voice, and to bring awareness in this parts of, oh, where are my healing potentials and rooms, makes you more even powerful and yeah, embodied at the end. Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, absolutely. Um, there's a point to be made about how people feel about their own voices, and I've heard many times people say to me like, I don't like my voice. I don't like the way it sounds, and how sad is that? That's very sad. That's very sad, right? And there's probably some of you on the call that feel that same way. Um, and I get it. I get that, right? Because our voices are, they're a part of this whole meat suit, right? This cosmic vehicle that we've got for the soul, right? But it's this physical part of us, and because it's a part of who we are, we have to take really good care of it, and we can't trade it in like, oh, this guitar sucks, or this piano's not working, or I don't like this drum kit, and then we just get rid of it and get a new one. Like, that's not happening, right? It's a part of us, and so many of us are very good at self-criticism, right? That inner critic that we need to really, one of those big parts that they're showing those emotional wounds that we're carrying, and those mental wounds that we're carrying. The inner critic, that voice can be very loud, and if we don't like what the voice is doing, we judge ourselves. If we don't like what the voice instrument is doing, we make it about us, and it's really not about us. It's about just training, just learning how to use the instrument. And so you can train yourself to learn any instrument, and that includes the voice. And so if you're somebody that doesn't like your voice, I encourage you to join us so that you can learn to love your voice and have control over your voice, and understand this is how I can change the way I sound and the way my voice sounds, and do all kinds of fun things with it, and really get to love your voice and be able to play with it. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I love
and I wanted to say at the end, if you like to join with Carol in a private session, that's also possible as well. I put just a link in the chat box that you can click on it, and yeah, it will open up in your browser, so you have everything to connect yourself directly with Carol as well. And yeah, otherwise, I would be really happy. And Jennifer's standing as well for surprises. So let's see what's going on further on this road together with Carol and this
Yay.
alchemy, voice alchemy course and
Yay.
journey.
So there's no questions?
No, you did a good job.
I guess so, but let's make sure that we don't squelch the voice if there is a question. Right? Use your voice. You can use your voice or you can use your fingers. I guess it's just your fingers, which is an extension of your voice.
I open the chat, the voice. You can, yeah, if
Yeah.
you want it.
Speaking of which, the body, the movements of the body are very connected to the way to supporting the voice, right? Body movements and voice, we use them together, which is why you see people like me talking with our talking with our hands, right? Because the hands become like the conductor's baton, right? We conduct our voices with our hands. Yes. And so when we use the body, it supports the voice. And when we use the voice, it supports the body. There's science, there's research on that actually. Yeah.
I had an experience, just wanna chat that thing, because yesterday or the day before, no, yesterday evening, I was having dinner, and
Mhm.
the woman which served at the table, she was older than me, and I didn't recognize her because she sounded like 14 or 13, or more, even younger. It was so highlighted, small, tiny voice. I If I haven't seen that it was her voice, I couldn't check her. I didn't recognize her even. And I wanted to say to work on our voice. If you can work on it by yourself, you can join our course, you can do whatever you want to perform your voice. It is like for me, like, yeah, stepping into your own potential, like Carol said before, to step into your true self. It's somehow like a tool to reflect yourself in the purest possible way, because it's every emotion in our body is shown up in our voice, I would say. I can see it, I can hear it, I can feel it in people. And when we connect ourselves about this way with our own voice into rooms in the body, I made great experiences with it. It's so great.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm curious. I actually have a question for people. I'm curious about what is your biggest challenge with your voice or your biggest resistance around your voice? What is your pain around your voice? What's going on with your voice? I know there's something.
Let's explain in German. Habt ihr irgendein Thema mit eurer Stimme? Ihr könnt es auch in Chat schreiben auf Deutsch und ich übersetze es dann, aber das würde Carol interessieren. Ist irgendwas rund um deine Stimme, ein Schmerz, irgendwas? Mhm.
Yeah. For me, I was the youngest of five children growing up in a very large, loud Italian family. The youngest of five, and so my voice was the last to be heard. I just honestly, I didn't even really bother saying anything because the room was so full of sound. And I became a very good observer of people, but I didn't really become a very good expresser of myself, and that was definitely something that I had to work through to create a balance of expressing myself and not being either like so timid and shy or withdrawn or withholding my voice for fear of not being heard or being judged or not respected or honored. And the other end of it being like, well, when I really wanted to say something and really had to get it out, like blasting it out. And in that way, it's also not honored and respected and heard, And so finding that balance of how to express myself in that kind of empowered, balanced, authentic way with confidence has been a journey for me, for sure. For sure. So, what about you all?
I had last time when I was on a retreat with my harmonium singing, and then I had the experience. It was a woman, she loves me, I know that. But she talked to me likewise, like, Jennifer, you are not singing from your perfect voice. She was from a gospel choir. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay, and I honored her openness towards me, etc. And it was so interesting because she meant it from her heart. And after a while, during singing, I recognized how it cracked up something inside of myself because, yeah, an old wound came up, and it was the punishing voice telling me I'm not good enough, I'm not doing well, I'm not working hard enough, and so on and so on. And it was about my vulnerable voice. Yeah, so, and I went with this topic, I think 3 days through my own ways of my inside worlds. And, um, and at one point I was in this position to go to her and ask her, can I reshare something with you now? Because I'm honoring what you said and I'm honoring myself for the process. It invited me. So thank you, but I want to say it hurted me. It hurted me that you said stuff like this to me. It reminds me to my mother's behavior against me and above me and so on and so on. And she was like, oh my gosh, Jennifer, I love you so much. And she was holding me, and both of us were crying because it was such a nice moment, such a vulnerable moment with so much openness. And yeah, it was great and a big release just with such a small situation.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We hold a lot of wounds around the voice for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah. I used to get, when you're in circles and you're waiting for your turn to introduce yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like, ah, oh my gosh. I used to get like just so sick to my stomach, and like I could feel my whole body just and like I couldn't think straight because now the oxygen's getting cut off because now I'm in nervousness and fear and anxiety, and now I'm not breathing, right? And so the oxygen's getting cut off from the brain, and now I'm like I don't know what I'm going to say, and I can't even hear what other people are saying because I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to say. It's just a disaster. Like I used to hate those things, you know they're still not my favorite, to be honest, but but I don't get that same visceral response in my body, now that I've worked through a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Anybody want to share a story about your voice? Don't be afraid. Use your voice. Well,
Yep.
the power of words. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Peter, you mean it as a wound, as a pain? Sorry. That the words with their power can damage or sometimes hurt.
Oh, yeah, that's probably.
Ja,
Mhm.
I think, if there are coming up in you, wenn da noch mal Fragen aufkommen in dir, all of you can write me an email. Schreibt mir eine E-Mail. And because Carrie just came back from Europe to America and is in jet lag stuff, and we have cried quite late here in Germany, I would say, yeah, or uplifting power as well, for sure, as well as Peter.
Yeah.
I would say we take the uplifting power of words and the power of the voice, the uplifting from Peter. Thank you for that gift. And thank you, Carol, for your great, yeah, sharing experience and offering us. I honor your work very, very well.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And thank you so much for having me here. I love sharing my knowledge about my experience about the voice and encouraging others to just have fun and get to know the voice. And so, thank you for inviting me to this platform and to your tribe and introducing me to everybody. I really, really appreciate you so much and everyone for joining us today. So, I look forward to hopefully seeing you on our journey. And if not now, whenever you're ready, we're always here. Thank you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All together. See you in next lesson, Carol. I love you so much. It
Okay,
is so
Jennifer,
great
I
with
love you
you.
so much
Thank
too.
you.
Good night, everybody.
And thank you everybody to joining us here. And ja, schön, dass es dich gibt, dass du bist. Viel, viel Liebe von meinem Herz zu deinem Herz. Love from my heart to your heart.
Jennifer, quick question. Will you have information for the English speakers about the course? I think you shared that you were talking when you were talking in German, when you were talking about
Yeah.
the. Yeah, okay.
Are there English speaking ones here as well? What do you mean? Or
No,
do you
for
mean
when they watch the replay.
the replay?
Yeah.
Yeah, we will put it under the video.
In the description.
Yeah,
Perfect.
in the
Okay.
description, genau.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Buonanotte.
Ihr
Ciao.
Lieben,
Au
schönen
revoir.
Abend.
How do you
Ciao,
say good
ciao.
night? How do I say good night in German?
Gute Nacht.
Gute Nacht. How did I do?
Yeah, good
Yeah.
night. Yes, gute Nacht.
I got a
Like
thumbs
good
up. Two
night.
thumbs up. Good night.
Ciao.
Ciao.